Invest in the context of white supremacy radio program. Constructive information on what racism, white supremacy is, and how it works. Visit the blog at racism-notes.blogspot.com. That's racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button is in the top right corner. Links for Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal are below. Gus's wish list is at Amazon under Gus T. Renegade.
I had thought of an introduction, but I know that a number of you know her, and I would just like to introduce her in this fashion. While we were walking over here just a couple of seconds ago, I asked her how she would like to be introduced. And a brother who was walking with us suggested Black Woman of the Nile. And sister responded by saying, no, victim of white supremacy. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
So I said, I have to understand racism, and so I just made that my pursuit. I'm going to understand racism. When I was an undergrad at Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio, I thought that racism, I went home one day imagining and telling my parents, well, the most important thing I learned in college was Marxism. They should have taken my tuition back, but they let me continue. Like my grandmother used to say, the more education they get, the dumber they get. But anyway, I thought when I was in college that economic forces were causing racism. But the more I attempted to work with that idea, it didn't turn over any dirt, so to speak. You would just run into a wall. It did not really produce any deepened understanding. So I was still looking for the answers to racism. And this discussion reminds me of when I graduated from Antioch College in 1957. And my parents said, well, now that you're graduating, what do you want to do? And most people are smart enough to say, give me a car. And I didn't say that. I said, well, I would like you to send me to Germany. And to this day, I'm not quite sure why I said that, but that is what I said. I told my parents that I wanted to go to Germany and to live amongst the German people because I knew the white people in our area of the world somewhat, but I wanted to also see the people in this area of the world, Germany, Europe, who had sat by, gone along with, encouraged, participated in the destruction of a group of people. I mean, like watching them being carted off and taken to internment centers and burned up, gassed with cyanide. So I wanted to see firsthand, to see if these are some kind of different people than the people that I knew over here. So I was really very much interested after having been at Antioch. And I went to Antioch in 1951. And I was out a year, so 5 years, the program was 5 years, so I finished in 1957. But I went to Antioch, I was the only black girl in my class. And that was a very interesting experience. And I had experienced people who were very nice, such that I remember going home to my grandmother and saying, because I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the ghetto, black elementary schools, black high schools, everything was black in the ghetto. And of course you would hear about the unkindnesses of non-black people. And I came home and told my grandmother, well, these people are nice. Where is was the problem. And that niceness went on. There was one black professor at Antioch when I was there. A black man who was professor in the Department of Music. And he had been there a number of years. And Antioch was supposed to be a very liberal college. And this black man had gone along. And one day he must have gotten fed up because he couldn't get his hair cut in the town. Yet all of these very nice people were going to the barber shop that he could not go to. So he got fed up, I think, and wrote a letter to the school newspaper saying, when I came to this community, I was told that none of the members would enjoy privileges that all members could not enjoy. And that none of the members would support discriminatory institutions. And he said, I've been here waiting for that to come into being. And at that point, all of the nice people turned into something else. They did not come down on the side of the black professor. They did not come down on my side, and I was really bewildered. I was about 16. I couldn't understand all these nice people, and you mean you will not support equality for this man? That was a major learning experience. But as I was saying, I was intrigued by what this phenomenon that I saw at Antioch, that I saw in Germany, what was it really all about?
Indeed. What is it really all about? Context of white supremacy. Gus T, Renegade, worthless Negro from Virginia, in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy. Information for non-white people, victims of white supremacy. Today's date, Sunday, May 17, 2026. So I have been told. Quickly, or not quickly, before we get to details and such for this broadcast, invest if you think the C.O.W.S is constructive. Hit the blog, racism-notes.blogspot.com, racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal button in the top right corner. Beneath the button, you'll see the links for Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. The Cash App address, cash.app/$ the C.O.W.S. Enormous gratitude to all of the investors who kept us on the air 17 uninterrupted years, hopefully constructive, accurate more often than not for that 17-year period. You'll also see the links or the link for the Amazon wish list. It is listed under Gus T, Renegade. Enormous gratitude to all of the folks who have invested, nabbed an item or 12 over all of these years. Again, hopefully the C.O.W.S has been worthy of your time and energy. You'll have to check social media and such to see when we will be here for the week. Definitely for Neutralizing Workplace Racism on Thursday, and the Catherine Massey Book Club on Friday. We creep halfway into the, or fourth at this point, fourth worst book ever. Michelle Cowbell Alexander's New Jim Crow, filled with lies and filth, and more to come. Inaccuracy, lies, and filth. More of all of the above to come. But Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, same as the Neutralizing Workplace Racism Thursday broadcast, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. You can tune in social media and such to see if we have any broadcasts prior to Thursday of this week. That's it. One quick fact check. We have our, at the end of the week, our counter-racist weekly review. Yesterday's broadcast, Saturday evening, Gus T was discussing the AR-15 rifle, and I mentioned by name Peyton Gendron because he went to Buffalo, shot up the Tops grocery store, killed 10 black people, convicted mass murderer, suspected, race soldier, convicted mass murderer, Peyton Gendron, and has his federal death penalty trial is still pending later this year. But he did all that. He had his AR-15, and I mentioned that briefly yesterday. Retired firefighter dialed in to quote unquote correct me to say that Dylan Storm Roof did not have an AR-15, which is true, but Gus T. Renegade did not mention Dylan Storm Roof at any point during yesterday's broadcast. I correctly stated Peyton Gendron went to Tops with an AR-15. He did, and he killed 10 black people. 2022, we talked about it in great detail, even the specifics of him having an AR-15. All of that stated. One, I do say strive for accuracy all the time. As the worthless Negro from Virginia, I do make errors. I do try to be accurate as much as I can, but when I say strive for accuracy, I generally mean, I say it all the time, get that mirror and focus on yourself. As opposed to going around to correct all the other black people and you don't know what you're talking about. Get the mirror and correct yourself. Make sure you are being accurate. That is generally what I say, especially when you are ready to go out and start correcting other black people publicly, like Jesus Christ. Make sure you know what you are talking about. And I even, have to put some emphasis on this because this is very common. With myself personally, where black people, and I don't have this from white people for the most part. I guess I do have it a few times where I will retract that. I have had this where white people and non-white people will come and call themselves correcting me on things. JFK is not racist. You can pick a white. Sometimes it'll be factual things, even though I think that is pretty factual, but whatever. Calling themselves correcting Gus T about things when they are out of this world wrong. And I do think a part of that is Negro culture and the system of white supremacy racism. We have so little regard for it. Even I can connect it to Dr. Welsing. I have heard matter of fact, you all have heard. Dr. Welsing used to say it all the time. She would say that black people would come up to her and say, man, Dr. Welsing, I just knew you was crazy. Haven't y'all heard her say? I heard her say that about 1,000 times. I am no hyperbole, no cap, no exaggeration. I think I have heard Dr. Welsing on my broadcast, other people's cumulatively throughout her. I think I've heard her say that about 1,000 times. That, the number, I would have a hefty chunk of cash. They don't even give out pennies no more. We do it a nickel. You give me a nickel every time. I'm going to have some dollar bills. Every time that I heard Dr. Welsing say, so many, she wouldn't even say it was one black. She said so many black people come up. I just knew you didn't know what the hell you were talking about, Dr. Welsing. Matter of fact, she said, I knew you were crazy. Woo! I was wrong. Sorry. That is very common that we will hear black, even Michelle, lame, lying, one white parent having Michelle Alexander. Woo, I would see black people talking about CIA sold crack to black people. You all are loony. That's what she said in her lame lying book. She admitted that. I'm saying it is very common. We have so consciously, subconsciously, we have been trained. We don't really pay attention to black people. And I was saying it yesterday while I was saying Peyton Gendron That's black culture. We are looking for conflict with black people. We don't really pay attention to black people. We're waiting to interrupt and talk over black people. You don't know what you're talking about. No. Even Dr. Welsing. That was what I was going to say before I remembered, like, it's not just me. It's widespread. For decades, Dr. Welsing said this. People told her the same thing. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, Dr. Welsing. Cress theory. You don't know what you're talking about. They said that. I said that yesterday. Dr. Welsing came on here and told third generation physician. Can I say that? Third generation physician. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. General and child psychiatrist, Dr. Welsing. Graduated med. I'm about to give her credentials in a second. She came on here summertime 2013, days after the conclusion of the Trayvon Martin murder trial, and she said that cannabis thing, recreational or no, not cool. I'm giving you my medical opinion. And as an attempted counter-racist scientist, I'm giving you my expert opinion. Not good for black people. And they said, we said the same thing. She don't know what she's talking about. Dr. Welsing. Even had some people say, Dr. Welsing, she don't even hang out with black people. She don't know nothing about black people in the ganja. Worthy of great pity. As such, I will say again, Fuller did say, resist the urge to criticize other black people. I would say resist the urge to correct, I'm going to put that in quotes, correct black people. I like talking a while, even retract on that. I enjoy and look forward to talking to race soldiers. That's what we got a track record for on this broadcast. If it's going to be some correcting, you not being accurate, are you lying? Got a track record. You can check me. Man, you can check me for this year. You can check me for 17. Not calling out black people. And Leroy, you don't know what you talking about. Dr. Welsing, you don't know what you talking about. Had black people, matter of fact, had black people tell me, Dr. Welsing, yeah, I read her research. Isn't she the one talking about the aliens? Worthy of great pity. And we still got the bullseye from Peyton Gendron and Dylan Roof, who I didn't mention yesterday. Now, this is the follow-up. I think I had wrote online, or I can give it completely. Number one, the FBI, usual suspects, our friend, white people, are most to blame. Gus T did a FOIA request earlier this year for FBI files on Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. They could have forked over all of the files at once. They didn't do that. Mr. Fuller has talked about how white people, with regards to constructive information, do you get accurate information at the time that you need it? And do you get it all? Do they break it off piecemeal and give you a little bit at a time? Now they might have. I think I said this when we did the first report where I said, oh wow, the FBI has files on Dr. Welsing, where I did the first broadcast a few weeks back, where I said, now it could be the type of thing with the JFK assassination where we find out, dang, they had 10,000 files on Dr. Welsing, and I told you last time, I got 20. Man, if you got 10,000 files, this could go on for generations, where you hand out maybe 5 at a time, like, oh wow. And it takes 200 years before you put the whole thing together. That's why JFK assassination, with 60 years later, we are still having meetings and still downloading pages. I said that last time. It easily could be that sort of thing with Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and maybe it will be. I posted online a few weeks ago, or I think I posted and I said, once I became aware, because it releasing information in drips, you get little bits and little bits. First time, April 19, I did the broadcast not even 3 weeks ago. It was about 3 weeks ago. I did the program and I said, hey, I got about 20 pages of files from the FBI related to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Now, it did take, courtesy of the bot who's suggested you get a white man on to help you understand these files, which I did need. We got Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly back on the program for a 4th time, and he said on that broadcast, these files, as we read and went over them, he said these files seem like a cross-reference of files where Dr. Welsing pops up in files that are about other people or black newspapers or whatever, but she's popping up in these files. This is not like Dr. Welsing's file where the whole thing is focused on her. He said, does she have a file? And he was saying that she would have to. If they've got informants who are watching her at 73 and she's been active all these years, she would have to. Where is her file? Let's get that. I said way back then, I said, hey, now, they have already alerted me, drips and little bits, they've already alerted me when I had the first set of files in my hand that, oh man, we got another 40, 45 pages of files over here. I guess you might want those too, maybe. So I was already, and importantly, I didn't know what was in those files, but they dated them and they said, well, we have another batch of files. It's about 45 pages or so. And these begin in 1954. I said last time, the batch of files that I got, first set, the surveillance of Dr. Welsing started in 1973, and I kept phrasing it, started at least as early as 1973, probably before. Because I knew by that point she's a doctor, she's been talking, she had already published the Cress theory of color confrontation. I didn't know, but I had strong reason to suspect she probably was on their radar before then, and within a few short days I got confirmation, yes, she went. I remember when we did that program last month, some of the folks that called in and myself, we were trying to theorize as to when the FBI surveillance of Dr. Welsing, when did it begin? Would her going to Germany have triggered this? Would her writing her paper, The Cress Theory of Color Confrontation, which she wrote in 1969, published in 1970, would that have triggered it? Her going on TV with Dr. William Shockley, what would have triggered FBI surveillance of her? When I got that notification that they were looking at her in 1954, and going like, wait a minute, Dr. Welsing is born in like 1933, like she would have been 19 years old, like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Or excuse me, she's born in 1935. I have it right in front of me, give it to me 1 second, but Dr. Welsing is 19 at the time that they are snooping on her in 1954. Like, wait a minute, because that was way earlier than all of our guesses and what might have triggered this. Like, she hadn't gone to Germany yet. What in the world? That's what I kept saying. That's what I was asking Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly. What in the world would have triggered the FBI? And this is J. Edgar Hoover. Now, when I said before 1973, I kept emphasizing, hey, J. Edgar Hoover has died at this point. He's not just no longer in the Bureau. He's no longer with us in physical form. And they're still doing the same thing. We didn't have no overhaul, no change in behavior, nothing. We keep right on rolling. Same activities, snooping on black people, black pediatricians, psychiatrists. At 19, she is not Dr. Francis Cress Welsing at 19. She is not married. She is not a doctor. We are Francis Cress. I'm even have to see if I can be disciplined, because that's important. This is not disrespect. She was not a doctor. It is being accurate to the file to understand they were not snooping on Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. They were snooping on 19-year-old Francis Cress. No ISIS papers. No, she wasn't Cress. I was thinking Welsing. No Cress theory of color confrontation, though. Certainly Cress there, but no Cress theory of color confrontation, and not even close. That's published in 1960. It's not like she was already had the chicken scratch and notes and all that. That Christy, yeah, that's what it. Not even close. And you heard that from her own testimony. I was very deliberate with the introduction that I picked today for lots of reasons. You heard her talking about her experience in Antioch College at the exact moment that I'm talking about, 1950s. She didn't say, I was at Antioch. I was a revolutionary at Antioch College, which is in Ohio, Yellow Springs, Ohio, specifically for people who are not familiar. Where's Antioch College? It's in Ohio. Shout to Dave Chappelle. But she didn't say, I was already in Cress theory and you're messing over black people. None of that. She said, you heard it from her own lips, she said, I thought it was economics. And we had heard that before. We've heard her a billion times say, I was a Marxist-Leninist. You heard that in the audio. I was very deliberate. You heard her. I was a Marxist-Leninist. I thought this was economics. I wasn't focused on racism. I wasn't running around and you're messing over black people and you're going to stop doing that, white man. None of that. Whatever. We got a file on you. You might mess around one of these days and bump into the wrong person, that old no-count Neely Fuller, who we also got a file on, and get accurate, and then you got all this scientific book learning as a doctor, medical doctor, you could end up being a real problem. We're going to have to keep an eye on you, and starting at 19, wow, that really, it reconceptual. One, I have so much more respect and regard for Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, her work, and I mean, if you put it this way, if someone were to tell you up front, look at here, and especially to tell you at 18, 19 years old, like, look at here, you are not going to be felled by diabetes, you're going to take relatively good care of yourself, all things considered, and you're going to be around for some decades. You are going to be here until old age. Now, if you do the correct thing, what we are supposed to do as victims of white supremacy, the most powerful police in the world, they will spy on you and etc. And I say etc. because that could mean lots of things. Checking your mail, tapping your phone, recording your residence, making you lose a job. That could mean all kinds of things. This is going to be the case for the duration of your life, starting at 19. Now, you can carry out your assignment if you want to, or, hey, we got a lot of other options. Things you can do to mess around, even some of them serious, you know. We got a lot of other things you can do. You can write novels, you can write fiction, all kinds of things. They white men. But if you do your assignment, you do the correct thing. You know that J. Edgar Hoover dude? They're going to be looking at you for the next 60 years. And everybody in your family. Now, who signs up for that? I ain't scared of no J. Edgar. I don't care about no feds. Give me that. I don't. And for the duration of my life, like I might have some bravado and I'm tough in my 20s and my 30s. Now, you still feel that way in your 50s. How about in your 60s? How about in your 70s? It radically increased my regard and appreciation for both Frances Cress at 19 to soldier through all of that and still become Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, author of the ISIS. Even think about that. We were sitting around guessing because I was saying like, dang, the FBI had her under surveillance 20 years before she wrote the ISIS papers. Wrong. They had her under surveillance 40 years before she wrote the ISIS papers. At least. Maybe they started in grammar school. Like, say, hey, We look at little Leroy when he's 8 and can tell, oh, they're going to need a jumpsuit for him. Cook County Jail, that's where you're going to end up. Maybe they were already looking at Frances Cress in 8th grade. She's going to be a problem. We're going to have to keep tab on her. At least 40 years before she published the ISIS papers, and 20 years before she publishes Cress Theory of Color Confrontation, and before she even goes to Germany, before she even gets that idea popped in her brain computer. White people at the J. Edgar Hoover already snooping. Radically altered my understanding. It should for everybody, like everybody. The same way that I say it should be included when we talk about Dr. Welsing. She accurately predicted more than a year in advance Donald Trump, next president of the United States. That is counter-racism science. Especially because no one was saying that in 2015. She passed away and was still accurate. Missed the whole election cycle and was still accurate. Hallmark of counter-racist science and the brilliance of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. But that should be mentioned when people talk about her scientific legacy. That right there. And in my opinion, now that we have this information that, hey, all of this happened from someone who was under FBI surveillance starting at age 19. The other massive for me, and I have been saying this repeatedly, we have not been on our assignment. When I saw that, wow, J. Edgar Hoover, race soldiers are peeping on 19-year-old Frances Cress. We have not been on our assignment. It is flagrantly obvious, but I mean, that big time put it in my face because, hey, a major tenet of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's Cress Theory of Color Confrontation is that there are not that many people classified as white in the known universe. Less than 10% of the global population. As such, even with all the bots, even with all the technology and AI and everything else, it is not possible for race soldiers to spy on every 18-year-old, every 19-year-old non-white person in the known universe. What you up to? What you reading? Who you hanging out with? What you writing down? What you think? That is not possible. Not even close. I don't even think they could do that for half of the population of non-white people. If we were really serious, we are about our business, we are focused, we are going to replace white supremacy with justice. That's not it at all. They don't have to do peeping on no 19-year-old non-white people for the most part. We vaping. Heard that yesterday. We are not on no counter-racism sign. We doing the recreational, as Dr. Welsing predicted. You got a whole population of teenagers, especially the non-white ones. They not on no counter-racism sign. I'm not taking care of my brain computer so I can be the next Dr. Welsing. Cameron Graham, 16 years old. We in the bathroom killing other black people over the vape pen, over a THC vape pen that is not even legal in North Carolina. Again, as predicted by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. When we said, you don't know what you're talking about. And predicted way in advance, because she said that in 2013. Counter-racist scientist. Probably had her under surveillance for that too, as much money as white people have invested in recreational ganja. To have some controversial Negro doctor out here disparaging suntanning and what have you. Now you're going to come out here and say that that's a racist trick too, to disparage recreational cannabis. What? We had it. I could be talking crazy, they say, I reckon. Dr. Welsing was not talking crazy, and she was very serious when she came on this platform and said that in 2013. I do know that. And the response also was very serious that Dr. Welsing don't know what she's talking about. She heard that frequently in life per her own testimony. Anyway, I can't say enough, though, in terms of just my thought process. I would hope people include this. This is not one of those, Gus T making up information. I'm going to read from the files, but I mean, hey, this is public information. Same thing that I said last time when I got the first round of files. So you can file your own FOIA requests and get these documents and read and study and verify for yourself, which I encouraged last time I did this broadcast. When I heard the first batch of files, worthless Negro from Virginia, Gus T, I'm about as far from Washington, D.C., where the FBI headquarters is. I'm about as far away as you can get and still be on the continental U.S., and I got these records. I think you can too. I think I said last time, I think Dr. Welsing was 19 when she came under surveillance. I said I think a 17-year-old, if you can read on level, your brain computer functions, you haven't been vaping for 6 years, if you can fill out a driver's license form or a job application with minimal assistance from an adult, so-called, I think you could probably, a 17-year-old could probably complete a FOIA request and get these files for Dr. Welsing. Now, I said last time, the files that I got, someone had already made a request for those. I said today I had to think on it a little while. Those files were not Dr. Welsing's FBI file. Those were files about other things, black newspapers and other things where Dr. Welsing happened to pop up there. Cross-reference is what they call it. This time I got Dr. Welsing's file. Those pages, other people had those, which is important that other people had FBI documents showing that there were informants present for lectures that Dr. Welsing gave. I think that's important. I was glad to share that. I didn't hear a single person say that I had heard this before, that I knew that they had documentation that there were FBI agents present for Dr. Welsing lectures in the 1970s, taking notes and reporting back. These files about her being spied on at 19, this is Gus T exclusive. And this one I know because the FBI, when they say we cannot release these papers because they have not been processed yet, what does that mean? Oh, we got names and informants and all this stuff that we're supposed to redact before we publish. If someone has already got these documents, they've already done that. No one has made this request. They have not processed these pages. That adds to the delay. It can speed up. If someone has already made that request, they can go much quicker. They can just give you the pages that they've already given to someone else. So, and it's dated for when they made the digital copies of these pages, and it's for my request. So for this one, I can say this is a Gus T exclusive. FBI spying on Dr. Welsing at 19. It's not even, well, I guess it would be important for Gus T because, I mean, hey, you all do, even yesterday, regularly, Gus T, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Well, I will stick, even had someone when I gave those FBI files out the first round and say, man, I wish Gus T was serious. I will stick my middle finger up to every single one of you non-white people and remind you I am super estranged from non-white people. I do not think, while you all celebrate New Jim Crow, Gus T did a FOIA request for Dr. Welsing. To put it in context, all of the non-white people in the known universe, you had the same opportunity to file a FOIA request for Dr. Welsing that Gus T did. I beat all of you to it. If anybody is serious about this, the evidence shows it is Gus T, not any of you. You would have these documents, not me. I'd be asking you, can you share? Can you tell us what's in them? I'm not. Anyway, same thing I said last time. I do have my middle finger up right now. I am very estranged from C.O.W.S listeners, non-white people in general. Gus T could have said, hey, FBI was spying on Dr. Welsing. Deuces, get your own files so you can find out what's in them. I could have easily done that. Same thing I said last time. I am trying to solve a problem. That's it. I cannot say enough because that is true. The worthless Negro in Virginia beat everybody on the planet to these files. I think that is embarrassing. Now, you could say, wow, Gus T is champion counter-racist. You all don't say that. You say Michelle Alexander is champion counter-racist. I say we are not serious about solving this problem at all. Like, not even a little bit. Not the people that listen to the cows, not the people that listen to Dr. Welsing, not the people that listen to Neely Fuller Jr., non-white people in mass. There might be one or two exceptions here and there, but I mean, we are not serious about replacing white supremacy with justice at all. And I'm going to point to these FBI files. Why you say it's about 1 billion reasons I could point to. I'm going to just point to the disclosure of these FBI files. Now, this time around, I told you, I got Dr. Welsing's file this time. I didn't even get it all because I totally believe they probably got 10,000 pages on Dr. Welsing. I got about 70, I'm going to say. I totally think they got about 10,000 pages on her. When I got her file this time, I expected like, whoa, there's probably going to be some goodies in here. When I say goodies in this context, I mean pictures. I was looking, electronic surveillance. I'm looking for that abbreviation now. Now, I did find that in Johnny Cochran's file. I guess I should say that too. I did get Johnny Cochran's FBI file as well in the midst of all this, which I probably would have done a program about that as well separately. But this, kind of took a lot of my attention, and I haven't even been able to read all of the files for Dr. Welsing yet. So we have to get to Johnny Cochran later. But I do know that popped up in the Johnny Cochran file, electronic surveillance. I've been looking for that one. Like, that's what I mean by goodies. Like, ooh, you get all kinds of deep details about what are white people spying on. Why are they paying attention to 19-year-old Frances Cress? Why are they snooping on Johnny Cochran and all that? Why are they snooping on Johnny Cochran 15 years before the O.J. Simpson trial? That sort of thing. I knew there were going to be goodies when I got Dr. Welsing's actual file, and especially Frances Cress at 19. I don't even get through the whole file, and bang, picture right in. Not just a picture, I mean HD. Latest iPhone crispy picture of 19-year-old Dr. Frances Cress. Or I was going to say the Welsing. 19-year-old Frances Cress, not a doctor. Now, I had seen this image before. Frances Cress was in the newspaper quite a bit in the 1950s, especially black newspapers in the Chicago area, Chicago Defender and some of the other local papers. And they bragged, were so proud. She was one of the first black students at Antioch College, as you heard her say. And she's black doctor. I mean, that would still be something to brag about. 2026. We don't allow white people do not allow too many black doctors. So she had been in the newspaper talking about her academic exploits at Antioch. And they included a picture of her, and it happened to be the same picture that was in the FBI file. But the picture, and I mean, you can imagine, so we're talking 1950s technology. They don't have all the great, HD imagery and computer abilities that we have right now. So the images that I'd seen in the paper, they were kind of grainy. You could clearly see that it's Frances Cress, but not the, like, this is HD sharp. You can see, her small earrings and all the really crisp, well-ironed white shirt that she has on and the buttons. I mean, it is one of, or it is not one, it is the clearest image. I think I've seen a few other pictures of Dr. Welsing prior to like 1970, 1960 when she was really young. This is easily the clearest image of young, like child, basically, black girl, Frances Cress, that I have ever seen. I said, wow, no coincidence at all that it would be in an FBI security file. That is not a coincidence at all. But I posted that image and I said exactly that. This one of the treats in the FBI file, and it is the crispest image I've seen of her from this date. And I also added, this photo was sent to J. Edgar Hoover. This photo was sent to the Secret Service, and we talked about that with Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly. The first batch of files that I had that was not even from Dr. Welsing's specific individual file. She was just cross-referencing in files that popped up regarding other black people, subversive subjects, that those files went to J. Edgar Hoover, or those files went to the director of the FBI after J. Edgar Hoover. Those files went to the Secret Service. Same thing with these files, and that's files on a 19-year-old black girl from Chicago are going to J. Edgar Hoover's desk, the Secret Service, Department of the Army. A 19-year-old black girl. We need a crispy image of a 19-year-old black girl. Now, I said the response to this photo, we are not serious. What was the response? It was lots of folks with, wow, that picture reminds me of the time that I saw Dr. Welsing in 1980. It was a clear, sunny day, and we sat outside, and she looked so radiant and beautiful, resplendent, really. I have no idea what any of that has to do with Dr. Welsing, Frances Cress, being in an FBI file at 19. I even had to pause for a moment to say, you all are speaking as though your brain computer is not allowing you to process the FBI, when they send informants to spy on someone, a nigger, a subversive nigger at a lecture, frequently they do pay attention to who is spectating. Sometimes they even document the spectators' names. For all the folks bragging, I seen Dr. Welsing, I said, number one, there are thousands of people, literally, no hyperbole is what. Dr. Welsing was giving lectures since the 1970s. There are thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands, because she did lectures outside the U.S. too, but easily thousands of people who can say, I saw Dr. Welsing live. Did you apply that information that you heard live to replace white supremacy with justice, even to adjust how you treat other black people, including yourself? That's one. Now, one of the other common responses was, wow, she looks resplendent. The queen, even that they heard that, I saw Dr. Welsing in 1989, and she was a queen, an African, Nubian, black queen. I said I was very deliberate with the introduction. That was an audio segment from State of the Race Conference in California, 1977, 1 year before the Jonestown Massacre. Dr. Welsing, by that time, she went to California, and you heard black male, he went to introduce her. He said, we were thinking about how we were going to introduce you, and black woman of the Nile, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Dr. Welsing said, no, victim of white supremacy, which is the same thing she said on this broadcast. You can fast forward 40 years later. No change. Consistency in it. She did. I am a Nubian queen, victim of white supremacy. I could add Fuller in there too, and talking about those queens and all that, kings, and all of that is white supremacy culture. We are not looking for kings and queens. We are looking for universal man, universal woman. But that just stands out to me when the very person that we keep insisting we got to call her a queen and got to call. The FBI didn't have no, I ain't seen that in the FBI file. Nubian queen, I ain't seen that nowhere. Subversive, I've seen that. Not queen. And again, she didn't say I'm a queen. She said I'm a victim of white supremacy. I had to even look at, I think I deleted like bunches of them because I said, man, one, you all are acting like this is a yearbook photo. People are, she is so beautiful, and oh my God, her cheekbone. This is an image in an FBI file. Do you all, the B word, biometrics, are you all familiar with that now when they got all the facial recognition technology? The bot grasped this quicker than we did, apparently, in saying white people have been about biometrics forever. They have crispy photos in their FBI files so they can easily identify subversive niggers. Do you know one of the integral components of the so-called apartheid system in South Africa, system of white supremacy? Kodak. In case maybe we got some 19-year-olds, young people. Kodak used to have the instant cameras where you could do the Polaroid, take a picture, and bam, you get the picture right there on the spot. That was essential in apartheid South Africa. You only have a teaspoon of people classified as white. We have to keep track of our Kafirs. There we go. We got to keep track of our Kafirs. So we take the photograph, boop, take the photograph. That was a big part of the campaign of counter-racism in the 70s, 80s. We're going to divest from Kodak because y'all supporting racism and mistreatment of black people in South Africa. We got to have crispy, and now they got the facial recognition and Instagram. They got lots of new technology now, but back then, we going to go get all the crispy images of the black, maybe even go and take some pictures. Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly, he just said, Mr. Withers, one of the black photographers from the so-called civil rights movement, turned find out, oh man, he was an FBI informant on the payroll for J. Edgar and them all them years. He got real crisp, close-up photos of all the black people that they killed and put in jail and neutralized, like Dr. Welsing. But just no grasp of that at all, and I mean at all. This is not a yearbook image. This is in an FBI file, and they probably got bunches of images of Frances Cress through the years. Frances Cress, Dr. Frances Cress. Now she's mature, medical doctor. What, if anything, white people are not ignorant about racism, and they are not ignorant about their niggers. They end up being, well, I told you, this image is way clearer. I saw images of Dr. Welsing when she passed in 2016. This image is much clearer than pretty much all the images that I saw of her as a child. Way clearer. And I understand why. We got this in a protected FBI folder. A protected FBI folder that was classified until the year 2007. I had to do the math. You all took this 50 years ago. You didn't even declassify it almost until Obama was president, and then nobody got access to this photo until I asked for it. I said they probably got like 10,000 pages on Dr. Welsing. Like her entire life in FBI files. I'm not, no hyperbole at all. I didn't mean to say 1,000 pages. I'm already telling you, I have now, like, closing on 100 pages. There are more. I am sure they got about 10,000 pages on Dr. Welsing. I would not have thought that at all. Like, if you had asked me before, I would have maybe said, well, maybe I'm sure she got a file or something. Like, how much? And when do you think they started snooping? I would not have said 19. Not at all. We always underestimate racist man, racist woman, racist child. I had to go forward to the photograph because that was really galling to me in terms of just seeing the overwhelming response that was that we are silly about things that are serious. We are serious about things that are silly. And I'm even put it into context in terms of the people commenting about seeing an FBI image of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing a picture from an FBI file on Dr. Welsing at 19, and this prompts them to talk about the time they heard Dr. Welsing 30 years ago and forgot about it, and they ain't mentioned her since. I interviewed Dr. Welsing 31 times. Do you know how many people have said, hey, Gus T, come and chat it up with us about what you learned talking to her all those times? Now, you sitting on these FBI files. 0. I have had multiple people say, you should talk to such and such. They saw Dr. Welsing. They heard Dr. Welsing and were influenced by them. What? You saw Dr. Welsing. I'm going to say you saw her 10 times, even though I didn't hear anybody say that, but I'm going to give you 10. You saw Dr. Welsing 10 times and or say you were influenced by her, and that is, hey, you should go be a guest on the C.O.W.S. Gus T interviewed her 31 times and is holding exclusive FBI files on her. Nobody says, hey, we should go talk to Gus T and chat it over. We are not serious at all. And there I would even say some of it to me sounded like show-offism. Like, I mean, I guess if you're going to show off, that's better than as opposed to the new Jordans you got, showing off about the times you heard Dr. Welsing. But I mean, really, the show-off would be in the application based on Dr. Welsing's brilliance and dedication to replacing white supremacy with justice. I'm going to try to show that same dedication to getting this problem solved, being on my cosmic assignment. Anyway, the photo is on social media. I shared that a while ago if you want to go see that again. I had seen this image before. I wasn't wigged out about that per se. It was just the crispness of the image and the biometrics of white supremacy racism. Now I can go back to the beginning of the file and even the context for all of this. I cannot say enough. This file starts in 1954. Their surveillance of Frances Cress probably began before 1954, but we'll just go over what we got on document now. 1954, massively important year for counter-racism. The Brown v. Board of Education decision. It doesn't matter, if you're in support of that or whatever. Massively important for understanding of racism, white supremacy, and the racist response to that decision. Even Dr. O'Reilly said, hey, to have that decision go down and then have at that time, Frances Cress, to have her mother, Ida Mae Cress, is a black school teacher in Chicago. If they participated in any sort of rallies or anything about we have to desegregate schools or address racism in schools or help black children, anything like that, subversive Negra. We got to pay attention, keep an eye on these folks. That is massively important for the context of this time period in understanding why they would be tracking someone like Dr. Welsing with Frances Cress at 19. This is the time period of the House on Un-American Activities where Senator McCarthy and they're dragging people in. Are you a communist? And all this other not Paul Robeson. Especially if you're a black person, they say, hey, you're a communist. They never explain that fully, talked about that in detail. Sometimes it might just be you're a black person and you might be stumbling towards working against racism, white supremacy. Paul Robeson. Richard Wright, you subversive. Got to keep an eye on you. Got to have a file on you. Maybe need to put you in jail or take your passport, do something else to you. This is the time period that all of this is happening, where it might be kind of dangerous to, even now, but it might be kind of dangerous to work against racism, white supremacy, and even importantly, 1954, Emmett Till is killed just 1 year later, summertime 1955, and I even have pointed this out before. This very image that they have in this FBI file on 19-year-old Frances Cress, this picture, I believe, is used in a 1955 newspaper article that I'd shared online, I think like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, where Frances Cress is in the newspaper about her medical school achievements. And I said, dang, I think this article is in the paper like April of 1955. And I was like, wow, this is like 4 months before the lynching of Emmett Till, just talking about the time period that this is happening, when they're snooping on her and spying on her. Like, it is kind of, this is the Montgomery bus boycott is happening in Alabama Rosa Parks. And even, I guess, if you want to connect to Dr. King, Antioch College, Coretta Scott King, wife of Martin Luther King Jr., doctor, she is also an Antioch College alumnus. She was not there at the same time as Dr. Welsing. Coretta Scott King was there from 1945 to 1951. Dr. Welsing, as she told us in the beginning, she was there in 1951, so she got there right as Coretta Scott King was leaving. But they were like the first cohort of black students at Antioch College at that time period. But even that, I'm sure Coretta Scott King, because of her proximity to Dr. King, and Antioch College was already on the radar as being a so-called progressive college, and then they got these Negro students coming in and integrating during the era of Brown v. Board of Education. So that probably would have been an area that white people at the FBI would have been snooping on anyway. There was a lot of FBI activity and snooping on college campuses during that time period. We talked about some of this during our study of Jonestown about a year and a half ago as well. But all of that would be important context. You're having the beginning of civil rights movement at this time period, so white people are going to be paying. Matter of fact, Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly, his book, Racial Matters, the FBI Secret File on Black America from 1960 to 1972, 1960, we are encroaching right on that time period of increased FBI scrutiny, abuses against black people, especially black people that are focused on in any way paying attention to racism, white supremacy. So all of this is leading right into when you're going to have much more focus on people like Dr. Welsing or Frances Cress, that, hey, she could end up being a problem. We might have to neutralize her. We're going to have to pay attention. And that's exactly, basically, the language that it states in the files. Let's see. And we did read Coretta Scott King's biography in the Catherine Massey Book Club 2017, unless my memory is bad, My Life, My Love, My Legacy. And she does talk about her time up at Antioch College briefly before she gets to all her civil rights and Dr. King and all that. Let's see. The surveillance specifically, I can go back and give some of the details from the files. Let's see, I'll go back to the beginning and maybe read a teaspoon so you can get an idea of what they're kind of saying in some of this. So let's see. Alrighty. Background. Birth data. Records of Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio, reflect subject, talking about Frances Cress, was born March 18, 1935, at Chicago, Illinois, according to Mrs. Bet Carter, secretary to the register. I'll even pause there, I guess it's pretty easy if you're a white man and you have an FBI badge, ma'am, with the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover sent us a spy, you might have a subversive Negro. What information can you tell me about this Frances Cress? I guess that's pretty easy, especially at this time period. And then that college had just, Antioch, they only had just begun to allow Negroes to enroll there, so of course, we gonna cooperate. Sure, we don't want no unruly Negroes here messing things up at our campus. So, of course, they're gonna cooperate. Continue. Even keep that in mind when we get later in the report. Continuing. Education. Mrs. Carter, that's the registrar at Antioch, advised that the subject, Frances, entered Antioch College on August 29, 1951, is majoring in biology, and is currently enrolled at this school. Marital status. The subject is single, according to Mrs. Carter. Employment. Mrs. Carter advised that her records reflect that the subject held the following employments under the Antioch College Work-Study Program. October 1951 to March 1952, Art, Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio. July 28, 1952 to October 25, 1952, New York Public Library. Given our recent study of black bookstores and the subversiveness of Negroes reading, I'm not sure if I had just forgotten or if this was my first time knowing, wow, Dr. Welsing was a librarian? I'm not sure. I mean, people have all kinds of, odd jobs as they're working and going through college and everything, but I'm not sure. That I suspect that might have been in the program when she passed in 2016, and maybe I just forgot, or maybe she told us before, what have you, but it also very much could be true that this is my first time knowing that Dr. Welsing worked as a librarian. Even if she just worked there, stocking books or whatever, that still counts. Librarian. That also will get you for sure in a Negro librarian, Negro reading, and especially this time period, like the 1950s, like, what? What? A Negro librarian? What? Get a file. That's going on. Like, and I mean, we just read Shar Adams, black owned, The Revolutionary Life of the Black Bookstore. Didn't we just read that? And the dissertation, Dr. Colin Anthony Beckles, Pan-African Sites of Resistance, where Dr. Welsing is mentioned repeatedly, and they talked about the FBI and their surveillance, considering black bookstores especially dangerous. So I say, and that even, it came to mind, and like I said, it really might have been the first time that I was aware Dr. Welsing was a librarian. Like, wow. But all the times that she said, reading is more important than watching television, maybe the librarian in her never left, maybe. Again, I cannot emphasize enough that reading, white people consider that very subversive for black people. Reading. Especially if you're not going to read New Jim Crow. You're not going to read The Hate U Give. You're going to get the ISIS paper. Like, oh my God. So we get a file on you too. Continuing, New York Public Library, 1952. December 29, 1952 to March 28, 1953. Northwestern Medical School, Chicago, Illinois. That's in Evanston, which is a racially restricted region. That would be interesting to get her thoughts about going into Evanston at that time and what that experience was like. Continuing, June 23rd, 1953 to August 21, 1953, Bronx Housing Emmanuel Company, Copake, New York. I've never heard of or been to Copake, New York. We have listeners there. September 8, 1953 to October 23, 1953, New York Public Library again. January 4, 1954 to March 27, 1954, Harvard School of Dental Medicine, Boston, Massachusetts. Residence. Records of Antioch College reflect that the subject lives on the campus of this school and her home address is still 6111 South Woodlawn Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Miscellaneous. Mrs. Carter advised, and that's again the registrar at Antioch College, advised that the scholastic records of her office reflect that the subject, Frances, is a member of the Young Progressives of America. She had no knowledge of any other organization to which the subject might belong. I'll give one more paragraph here. Confidential informant T1 of known reliability advised that the YPA at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio, held a meeting in the Science Building on April 19, 1954. T1 identified the subject as being present at this meeting. T1 further stated that Arthur Rosenthal, Dr. Oliver Loud, and Mrs. Frances Goldie Loud were present at this time. And then it goes on to give more information about some of these other people who were at the meeting. I'd never heard of any of these folks before in my life. But just that level of detail where literally white, again, this is the sort of thing I say, keep in mind. This whole file, snooping on Dr. Welsing at 19, all of it. When people say that white people are ignorant about racism, how many of you all had all that information on Dr. Welsing? Now, again, I'm not saying every single white person, but I mean, really, if white people want to study and know everything about you, they can study and know everything about you. Again, I haven't even read the whole file. I was reading today and said, oh, they didn't even redact Dr. Welsing's social security number. Now, as I understand it, legally, once a person is deceased, your privacy rights, for the most part, evaporate. That's why you can get these documents now. They become public record once a person is deceased. But I mean, they just had all that wrangling. Like this year, they just had all that wrangling last year, 2025, when they released the JFK assassination records, because when they released those files, they had lots of same things, social security numbers, people's private information. Some of those people were still alive, and so they had to get them new social security numbers and all the rest of it. But I mean, it's 2026. With the level of technology and cyber fraud and crimes that they have at this point, like, do we really need to be like sharing anybody's social security number publicly at this point? Because they were saying that is, people do get deceased people's social security number and use that, see if they can go and get a credit card or a loan or whatever the case may be. And they said frequently, people do not check deceased people's credit report to see if, oh, wait a minute, somebody is doing something nefarious, we need to report this to the police, that sort of thing. But they go through all this trouble. We got to redact every informant, T1 and all these other old goofy codes and such, and say, oh, we got permanent laws to protect our informants and people who did all this peeping and snooping. But as soon as you die, hey, your social security number's up for grabs. System of white supremacy. Let's see. I did say reading. They do pay a lot of attention to what you read. Now, I suspect they got more files, so the reading habits go on. But oh man, what newspaper did Fran subscribe to? What was she reading? Was it Subversive Activity? They're talking about something controversial. They do all that. What are you reading? Now, again, if reading wasn't that big a deal, oh, okay. But Dr. Welsing did say forever reading is more important than watching television, especially reading nonfiction, maybe even get you some FOIA documents. On the very next page from what I just read, they gave all that biographical information and detailed where she's working at every minute of every day and what she's reading and who she's hanging out with on campus and what have you at 19 years of age. They go on and just give a breakdown, full name, age, date of birth, height, weight, parents, Chicago address. Like, man, white people are not ignorant about racism, white supremacy, or their nigras. That is the greatest lie in the known universe. They just stack up files and data and documents on, especially non-white people, that seem like they might be stumbling towards being on their assignment. They pay a special attention to them. Again, we haven't been on our assignment. They don't have to pay too much attention to most of us. Continue. So then, massive page of informants and people snooping on her at different meetings and to verify what her reading habits are and all the rest of it. And like I said, this is if they've got all these informants and can even itself, because they listed the registrar, so I don't know if she counts as an informant or if they can just go and talk to people sometime and get information from them and, hey, that's just, we didn't even have to pay them or put them on the payroll or anything. But if this is all happening at 19, can you imagine the intensity of the focus by the time we get to 19, where I got the other set of documents, 1970, where now she is not Frances Cress. Now it is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She is on television, so now millions of people can see her. She is debating a Nobel Prize winner, Dr. William Shockley. She has articles that are being published. Like I told you, she was in the newspaper at 19. She's going through med school, 1920 and all that. She's in the newspaper a lot, starting like 1970. Once she started publishing Cress Theory of Color Confrontation and doing lectures, being on TV, she was in the newspaper all the time, like once or twice a month. And I mean nationally, Chicago Tribune, Washington Post. She would pop up in all kinds of news, LA Times. She would pop up in all kinds of newspapers about talking seriously about racism. And as a medical doctor, in the FBI, they have some of these newspaper clippings from the 50s, even from Antioch College, because they have the school paper, Some of that is in the FBI file. So if they got all these informants and going and snooping and going through your mail and what you read and who you talked to and all this detailed information about you, how much you weigh and how tall you are at 19, can you imagine the level of focus and scrutiny that they would have on someone like Dr. Welsing at 18? And you're traveling outside the country and talking to people all over the world and going to conferences and giving lectures all over the world at colleges and what have you. Come on, that's why I said they could easily have 10,000 pages on Dr. Welsing. Easily. Probably Neely Fuller too. Let's see. As particularly that you can put these together. Dr. Welsing, who stressed system of white supremacy. She said that all the time, and courtesy of Neely Fuller Jr., saying she met him late 60s, I believe 1967. System of white supremacy. Total system. All areas of people, activity. That is reflected in these FBI files. I have talked about for years, the Voltron effect. White people work together. They don't even have to know each other. They can be total strangers. Individuals classified as white, they work together to maintain, refine, expand the global system of white supremacy racism. It is one thing to see that on an individual level. I'll call that the micro level, where like the people that you work with on a job, or maybe the white people that you go to school with, or the white people that are in your residential area, where they work together to mess you over on a job and keep you from getting a promotion. They work against you, maybe to keep you from getting that house. That sort of individual racism where white people, Voltron effect, same thing, where they come together and work to mess you over. Someone practices racism against you and they come and work together. Nobody practiced racism here. We all love black people and we adopted black children, voted for Obama 8 times. No racists here. That sort of thing. Man, when you see the macro workings of the Voltron effect, now it's not individual white person Ted, Sue, Jane, Harry working against you. Now it's the FBI, the Secret Service, the Department of the Army, Health, Education, and Welfare, HEW. When I said Secret Service, did I get Secret Service? Local police departments. When they are all working in conjunction. I had said that when we had Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly, when I got the first set of FBI files, and that was just the 70s, when I didn't quite know, dang, they were snooping on her when she was 19 and all that. When I was looking at those files, and I said it's so much information that you really have to, you can read the details that I read before, like, yes, she Antioch College, and this is her weight, and this is when she got there, this is where she worked at, all that is there, you can read that. But they have so many codes all over these files. Dates that are stamped on the files, people's names, who filed these reports, who typed these reports, where were these documents shared, how did they file these documents. Oh my God. This set of documents in particular, some of this I'd seen before, where I got it before, and I said, oh wow, this one has director, so this went to the director of the FBI, Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly. Yes, it went to the director. That doesn't mean he read it. We went to all that. It doesn't mean that the director read it per se, even though that is now canceled from these documents. The director read and wrote about, I think I slipped and said doctor. Be better, Gus T. Director J. Edgar Hoover read and wrote about Francis Cress. No doctor. That is massive, that you would get just from looking at the codes on the files themselves. Who were these documents shared with? These documents went to the Cincinnati FBI field office, the Chicago FBI field office, the FBI headquarters, the Secret Service. The Department of the Army. I hadn't even seen that before. That wasn't on any of the documents I had before. Like, what? The Department of the Army? Why does the Department of the Army need a file on 19-year-old Francis Cress? Again, when I saw that, my immediate thoughts was the first thing that popped in your brain computer when you became aware. FBI is spying on 19-year-old Francis Cress. We have not been on our assignment at all. If they had the snoop on every black girl, black boy at age 19, this problem would have been solved a long time ago. That was one of the first things that popped in my mind, and this system is going to be replaced. If you have a system that is so janky and fragile, you got to go and snoop on a 19-year-old black girl from Chicago. Y'all should have been out of business. If we were not so lame and not on our assignment, we would have put Whitey out of business a long time ago. If we had a few more Dr. Welsings, a few more Mr. Fullers, we would have had them on the run years ago. We could have moved on to something else. We haven't been on our assignment. We haven't been making, again, Gus T beat all of you to getting these documents. That's how I can say we ain't been on our assignment. I gave you all 10 years to get these pages. We ain't been on our assignment. We've been watching TV. That's what I've been saying for years, too. Don't send me no YouTube, man. If you got some FOIA documents, let's do it. I said last time, I'm down to swap it. If other people got Welsing documents, because what I just said, they probably got 10,000. They give me 70, they give you 50, they give you 30. We all get different pages. Let's put the pieces together. I didn't hear one person say, oh man, I got me some Welsing papers too. Not one person. Nor did I get anybody say, well, I ain't do no FOIA requests on Dr. Welsing, but I did do FOIA requests on Leroy, Lakeisha, Jamal. Not one. We ain't been on our assignment, and not even close. Not, and I mean like to a boy, to a girl. We ain't been on our, even those of us who sat up in Dr. Welsing, and I seen Dr. Welsing 15 times, we ain't been on our assignment at all. Ain't no application of what Dr. Welsing said at all. And you need another one? Again, Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly. It shouldn't be. You got all these people. I'm ready to brag about how many times I seen Dr. Welsing. I'm ready to brag about how many times I read Dr. Welsing. Oh, did you read Kenneth O'Reilly's Racial Matters? The FBI's file on Black America, from that secret file on Black America from 1960 to 1972, of which Dr. Welsing is a part of, even scratch of which 19-year-old Francis Cress is a part of. Did you read that? Nope. It's on page 1 of the ISIS papers. We ain't been on our assignment at all. Not even close. At any rate, you know who is on their assignment. People classified as white. And I mean, wow. This problem could be solved because you got to get the Department of the Army, the Secret Service, the director of the FBI, and then you got to go and get all the field offices, Chicago, Springfield, Cincinnati, Washington, D.C. I told you last time, they got a file on her in Baltimore, Maryland, and even this one you keep reading, because I just told you she worked in New York field office too. You got to have white people network across all these different groups. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. You got to have white people, powerful white people across all these organizations across the entire continent for a 19-year-old black girl. This problem should have been solved along. You need the Department of the Army for a 19-year-old black girl. We're supposed to be inferior. Thomas Jefferson told us black people are monkeys. President Trump doubled down on it this year. Obama, Michelle, all of us, monkeys. That's what they said. Planet of the Apes. Why do you need the Department of the Army, J. Edgar Hoover, and the Secret Service to peep on a 19-year-old black girl that you say is the cousin of an orangutan? Why is that? No, buddy, no. They should have been out of business a long time ago. It's an embarrassment to our counter-racement effort that white people are still in charge. Embarrassment to Dr. Welsing's effort. Man, if we had half the effort of this 19-year-old black girl, white people would have been out of business a long time ago. Facts. You ain't got to. How is the Department of Army, how you going to go over and do all that in Iran, and then you got to spy and peep on every black girl in Chicago at the same time? How you going to go smack around Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, and you got to spy and peep on every black girl in Chicago at 19, maybe 18 too? No, y'all should have been out of business a long time ago, and we ain't been on our assignment at all. Wasting Dr. Welsing's time and energy sitting there acting like we going to apply what she's talking about. Get out of here. Let's see. I cannot minimize that enough. To have a 19-year-old and you have the most powerful security, police, military apparatus in the world focused on you and your entire family for your entire life. I would even love to ask Dr. Welsing, like, dang, do you know the Department of the Army has a file on you and been talking about you since you were a teenager? Been talking about you since you were a teenager, saying you were a Marxist-Leninist. What does it mean to be that? Put that in next time somebody, white people are just ignorant and they don't. They're not ignorant about Dr. Welsing, I know that. And the local police, I forgot that. It's not just Secret Service. There's so many. That's what I said, like, Jesus Christ, how many white people do you need? Department of the Army, the Secret Service, the FBI, the local police in Chicago, the local police in Cincinnati, the local police throughout Ohio, like the local police in New York. Man, how many white people do you need to snoop on one black girl? A teenager at that. Let's see. The informants, that's in addition to all of the informants. Man, I told you that's one of the slowdowns. So when you do your FOIA request, eventually maybe one day we'll get to doing that. You all will get to doing that. They will say, we can't give you these documents immediately. We can't just rush them to you same day. We got to go and look and make sure we don't give up our sources and national security. And, we got our snitches and everybody, and we can't give up those names and all that. Man, there's so many snitches on this here document. Like, they literally, like, no hyperbole. No hyperbole. There are whole pages that it's just redact. There we go. Redaction. Informant. T1, T2, T3. How many informants do you need for a 19-year-old black girl? I guess some of these, or nope, all this 1954. How many informants do you need for a 19-year-old black girl? How many do you need? Is a 19-year-old black girl who's not even saying white supremacy or racism, is she that much of a threat? White people should have been out of business, and if that's true, then you know how much of a threat Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was, and particularly when she got the ISIS papers in her. Oh my God. Woo! Now I get when she said, black self-respect more powerful than a weapon of mass destruction. Absolutely. Because apparently to white people, even a 19-year-old black girl who isn't even quite saying racism yet is, woo! We need the army. We need all hands on deck. We got a problem here. We need as many informants as you can get. Can we go pay some more black people to snoop on her? Some of these could have been white people too, because at Antioch College. So can we go pay some more people to snoop on her? What's she been up to? Who she been talking to? What's she been reading? What magazine she subscribing to? For a 19, I can't emphasize enough, for a 19-year-old who's saying, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. Let's see. I did say they snoop on your entire family. They know when you take summer vacation. They got that in there as well. But they snoop on your entire family. Oh, and I can even give you the informant since I just mentioned that. So I'm scrolling down here. Let's see. Frances Luella Cress, born March 18, 1935 at Chicago, Illinois, entered Antioch College on August 9, 1951, and maintains a home address at 6111 South Woodlawn Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. A confidential informant of known reliability advised in April 1954, Brown v. Board of Education, exact same month, that Cress received the National Guardian. Another confidential informant advised that on April 26, 1954, Cress was present at a Young Progressives of America meeting at Antioch. Bet Carter, secretary to the Register, Antioch College, advised that Cress was a member of the Young Progressives of America at Antioch College. Goes on from there. Now, memo dated dated August 13, 1954, to the director of the FBI. Now, this is another one because there are a number of these memos here. Now, we talked about this with Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly last month, just literally a couple days ago. It seems like it's been so much time, but literally, it was just a couple days ago when we talked to Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly, and he said, well, thousands or hundreds of memos go to the director every day, and they don't read all of them. That might be true. Some of these memos are from the director to different field agents. So I'm not sure how a letter that is from the director would not be seen by the director. It might even suggest that this was at least dictated. I suspect J. Edgar Hoover would have a secretary or somebody to do the transcribing for him, but if it's from the director, I suspect Hoover might have known something about this. So, at least for me, all of that is done. J. Edgar Hoover, he's director in 1954, is talking directly about Frances Cress. Wow. That also kind of refiguring in my brain computer, thinking about Dr. Welsing's legacy, because this is like really, there is no ISIS papers. There is no Cress theory of color confrontation. Why is J. Edgar Hoover, who is accused of orchestrating Dr. King's assassination, accused of orchestrating Minister Malcolm X's assassination, accused of orchestrating Fred Hampton, Mark Clark's assassination in Dr. Welsing's native Chicago, amongst other crimes, murders, false imprisonments, you name it, regarding black people. In fact, when we had Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly on the program just a couple days ago, and he said, it doesn't mean just because director is stamped on the memo, it doesn't mean that the director actually saw it. It could have just been sent to them so that they, are aware of it, or maybe they didn't even read it and you don't know. You have to see if their initials are on it and all that good stuff. I said, oh, okay. But they had the stamp on the first set of files that I got that said Intelligence Division. I said, what does that mean? He said, ooh, and that was his first response. It was, ooh, that's the people that went after Dr. King, what I just said. J. Edgar Hoover is accused of killing Dr. King, participating in orchestrating that assassination in '68, and then trying to get him to kill himself before then, and all the other snooping and surveillance and illegal activities, all of that, some of which JFK signed off on. Robert Kennedy, too, as Attorney General. Not all white people is racist. But he said, that's the intelligence division of the FBI. That's the people that do all that illegal activity and everything that we had to get into with COINTELPRO. These people are trafficking files on Dr. Welsing. Now, those files were later on when she was a doctor, but Man, these files have the stamp Subversive Control. I'd never even seen that one before. Subversive Control. Dr. Welsing, my apologies, Francis Cress, 19, not a doctor, Subversive Control file. Wow. Now again, that's what I said, like when I'm looking at this photograph, I'm not that, wow, she got such great cheekbones and great posture and shirt is so iron. Look at her little cute. Nah, man. Subversive Control, because that's why we have this photograph. We got to control our subversive niggers. Back to the memo. So this is August 13, 1954, which would be 4 months after the Brown v. Board of Education decision, to the director of the FBI, which again would be J. Edgar Hoover at the time. This is regarding Francis Luella Cress, re-rep of Special Agent Henry F. Tompkins, dated June 29, 1954 at Cincinnati, and Bullet, dated July 14, 1954 to Cincinnati. The indices of the Chicago office reflect no information relative to the subject. However, the following information was disclosed concerning the subject's parents. On March 6, 1953, informant of known reliability advised that Special Agent Edward Hugh McGrail that the name Ida Mae Cress, 3149 South Ellis Avenue, Chicago, appeared on the 1952 mailing list of the Chicago Council of Arts, Sciences, and Professions. Chicago file number 100, and even that file 100, we got to keep an eye on these folks. They could be dangerous. Watch all these people like, come on, man, come on. I'll even give you a tad more from this one. On May 4, hey, getting close. On May 4, 1952, informant of known reliability advised Special Agent James A. Daly that the name Ida Mae Cress, 3149 South Ellis Avenue, Chicago, was on the general mailing list of the Chicago Council of Arts, Sciences, and Professions for 1951 and 1952, which list was composed of members of this organization as well as of those interested in its work. And they go on to talk about some of their work, what I said before, working against racism, even some of it working to get Negro History Week. Even that is subversive activity. We got to spy on you. You're not supposed to be doing that sort of work. We got to keep an eye on you, you and your children, all that. We got to watch you. And same thing I said before. They even keep an eye. What are her parents reading? What newspaper do they subscribe to? What books are they reading? All of that. Reading, more important than watching television. And some of the activity where they're paying attention to what their parents are doing, what their parents are reading, if they're talking about racism or attending any meetings and that sort of thing. This information is, or spying and peeping, is happening in the 1940s. Like, that's why I said, like, they had her entire family, Dr. Welsing, under surveillance, like, forever. If you can go back and you going into their records about what her parents and all were doing in the 1940s when she's like 9 years old, like, you had the entire household. That's why I said I'm sure they had Francis Cress was probably under surveillance before 1954, probably even before she was 19. Let's see. Secret Service on oh my gosh, I forgot. I totally forgot. I had to get it in my face right here for the stamp. I already told you that this tracking of these records starts in 1954. They have dates that go back where they're looking at her parents in the 1940s. The FBI, this would probably just be like series of updates because they could have just dumped all the files at once. Like, give me everything, let's go. It's been 50 years, she's deceased, let's ride. They didn't do that. They, a little bit at a time, little drops and drops and drops. They already said that they have like a 60-page file on Ida Mae Cress. That's Dr. Welsing's mother, who's a black school teacher in Chicago. Well, you hear what I just said? 60 pages. Now, it's probably way more than that, but 60 pages. And let me tell you, they even tried to downplay it and say, look here, Gus T, We got, and I think it was more, say 70, because I think it was more than 60. We'll say 70. We got 70 pages of FBI files on Dr. Welsing's mother, Ida Mae Cress. Never been released before. But, it's not that important. It's just, different minutes from meetings that she was at. It's not even that big a deal. But, we do got 65 pages. That's now, one, if it was nothing, you could just give it to me right now. We don't have to go through that. I mean, it's nothing. You can just give it to me right now, right? Two, why does the FBI have 70 pages of nothing on a Negro school teacher in Chicago? Why would that be something to hold on? If it's nothing, we could have just looked at this from the beginning. Okay, Negro school teacher, dumb Chicago students, black on black crime, they would kill each other anyway. Okay, throw it in the trash. Next. That's not what you did. You can 70 pages. It's not like you said it was 10 pages of nothing, 5 pages of nothing. 70. How many of you all have taken notes, even chicken scratch, food you like? You stumble on the recipe for KFC chicken. Whatever. Your mom's recipe for lemon meringue pie. Whatever. 70 pages worth of notes on it? 70 pages? I've read whole books and didn't take 70 pages worth of notes. 70, that right there. Like, you gonna tell me you got 70, but it ain't really nothing, that significant. It's just nonsense. They really were talking about what type of toilet paper they like, really. Gonna need all that. Let me get that. Let me determine if it's nothing. Y'all were just messing around with Dr. Welsing's mom and dad. Like all these people got files. All these, when Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly, when he said, does Dr. Welsing, does she have her own file? Yes, she has her own file. And her mother has her own file. And her dad, Henry Cress, who was a doctor and a World War II veteran, has his own file. And her sister, Lauren Cress Love, who was a 3-time guest on the C.O.W.S, has her own. It would just keep going on and on. Probably her grandparents have their own file. Just keep going on and on and on. Whole family under that. Even add that. Like, okay, now you're going to be a counter racist. You go out and do this for your whole life and everything. But we already had your entire family under surveillance. Got big, thick folders on them. Matter of fact, we got a whole big filing cabinet just on your family. And you do any of this old goofy kind of racist work and say you want to be cool with Neely Fuller Jr. and comrades and help him we're going to be studying, spying on you for the rest of your life in more detail than you could ever know. Army going to be snooping on you. We might have to neutralize you permanently one day. Again, who wants to sign up for that? Apparently, Francis Cress. That's me. I'm on my job. Again, everybody, there should be a radical shifting of, we talk about Dr. Welsing and tell people about her working under FBI surveillance at least since she was 19, entire family under surveillance even before that, probably more details than we'll ever even know. And still she soldiered on, but to soldier on for 60 years, published the ISIS papers, through the Welsing Institute lectures, which were probably saturated with informants every week. Or I guess she didn't have it every week, every month. United, that's one I was, United Independent. Like, man, I never attended any Welsing Institute lectures, but woo, seeing all these informants, T1, T2, T3, man, I would be real standoffish. Like, I'm not talking to nobody here. Man, he is real good. Yep, I'm not. Don't you want to go out and meet it? Nope. I don't want to talk. I don't want to know your name. Nothing. What's your name, brother? I don't want to talk. I don't have a name. Matter of fact, you're standing too close to me. Back up. Back up. Back up. I don't want to talk. Just, yeah, right on. Replace white supremacy with justice, and I'm out of here. pitiful, but United Independent. United Independent. They had informants around her, seemed like dozens of them when she was 19 and not a doctor. And then informants, I told you last time, when she's doing a lecture with 13 people and they got an informant, after you'd been on TV and Donahue a few times, we might have 5, 6, 12 informants present for every meeting. United Independent. And maybe some of these folks work for the Department of the Army, Secret Service. Let's see. Scrolling through again, going back to what's in the newspaper, what is she reading, what are they talking about in the Young Progressives of America. Scrolling through a little bit. Okay. Okay. This is subjects' attendance at Young Progressives of America meeting. On May 26, today is May 17. On May 26, 1954, confidential informant T3, who has furnished reliable information in the past, advised that Young Progressives of America held a meeting on May 17, 1954, on our cosmic assignment, thank you, in the faculty lounge at Antioch College, Yellow Springs, Ohio, which was attended by approximately 16 persons. The informant stated that Francis Cress was in attendance at this meeting, which meeting was addressed by Mr. Paradise, whose first name was unknown to the informant. Informant advised Mr. Paradise from Cincinnati, Ohio, and his topic was American Civil Liberties Union in the McCarthy era. I said before that all of this is happening right in the middle on the House on Un-American Activities Committee, where you're a communist and all that, and talk to you. I think retired firefighter had asked about that when I said I got these files, and they talk about, somebody a communist and all that. They do, but they say immediately, got no evidence that old Fran is a communist. We ain't heard nobody say she's a communist or her saying she's a communist and nothing of that, but we still got to watch her as a subversive Negra. Continues. Subject identified as YPA co-chairman. On November 30, 1954, an article entitled Independents Discuss GOULD, and it's GOULD memo, appeared in the Antioch College Record, Yellow Springs, Ohio. This article identified Fran Cress as co-chairman of the Young Progressives of America and further reflected that Cress defended the YPA policy of listing only names of chairmen. The article quoted Cress as stating in this regard, in quotes, not because we have something to hide, but because of the college commitment to cooperate with the investigating committees, end quote, which is more accurate than she could even know, because I just told you that the Antioch College registrar was cooperating with the FBI agents who were coming to ask her, what is this Fran up to? What is she doing? What is she reading? Who is she hanging out with? Is she a communist? Is she asking her? They were, and probably, what's her mail at? Let's go through there and see who's writing and all the rest of it. So she was absolutely correct, brilliant, even at 19, which is why they were snooping on her in the first place. And in this environment, I can see, yes, you would not want to be giving out all of your, same thing as now. I do not want to go and put all my information on Instagram and social media and all the rest of it for you to share with all these third parties and everything else. Same thing. If I'm going to be a member of this group and you all are going to go and say we're subversive and radical and report us to Senator McCarthy, no, we don't want to put all the people's name. They would do this in this time period for groups like the NAACP or any sort of black organization, Southern Christian Leadership Conference with Dr. King, and say, oh, you subversive Negras, we'll go and get your membership list and we'll publish all the names and addresses of the Negras. So now all of our race soldiers are, oh, this Negro lives at 6111 Woodlawn Avenue. We'll go and bomb the house, go terrorize, burn a cross on their yard and all that old nonsense. So that's why you would have lots of people, black people in particular, saying, oh man, maybe I don't want to join this organization, or I don't want to be identified, I don't want to have my name out there and that sort of thing, because it was very dangerous. Like I said, this is 1954. Emmett Till was lynched a year later, and this is in the middle of the Birmingham Montgomery bus boycotts that was happening in Alabama. Exactly, Coretta Scott King just mentioned, same time period. Very, very dangerous. Bombing Dr. King's property and all of that, very dangerous to be a black person attempting to counter racism. Even if you are not using correct terms, you don't even have to be particularly good at attempting to counter racism. Just stumbling in that direction, you could be killed, or worse. Or I won't say worse, but other really bad things could happen to you. Continuing. Meeting of Ohio State Council on the LYL. I forgot they have their acronym. I'll give it to you in a second. On April 8, 1955, which is 4 months before Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi, confidential informant T2, and I told you T3 before, I said they got all these, how many people do you need snooping? Dr. Welsing is 20 at this point, advised that one Fran, a Negro, possibly from Antioch, was among those persons attending a meeting of the Ohio State Council of the LYL of Ohio, which was held at Cleveland, Ohio on April 2nd, 1955. The informant advised that Fran was in the company of Bob Heifetz, mentioned herein above. According to the informant, this council meeting was held to plan an immediate policy or plan of work for the next 3 to 4 months for the entire LYL in Ohio to elect a new state board and discuss and extend the financial drive of the LYL. On October 11, 1955, confidential informant T2 viewed a photo of Francis Cress and identified Cress as the person known to him as Fran, who attended the above-mentioned Ohio State Council meeting on April 2, 1955 at Cleveland, Ohio. Again, that's why I said white people are into biometrics long time ago. We're going to have crystal photograph. We need to easily identify our subversive niggers. Is this old Fran? Oh, okay, this is man, I would have tripped out so hard if I could have got this. Fran, what is going on? What is going on? And then we got to go, and even that, they go and confirm, make sure Fran is Francis. Okay, we got our subversive niggers, Francis Cress, a.k.a. Fran. We got all that together so we can track in. And again, white people are not ignorant about their niggers. We're going to get all your nicknames and everything. Fran. Let's see. They got more subjects spying on. Oh, and this is what I said. We give you her mother in November 1944. At which point Dr. Welsing, at which point Francis Cress, a.k.a. Fran, would have been 9. 1944 confidential informant T4, who has furnished both reliable and unreliable information. I think that's the first time I've seen that for one of the informants. Like, dang, do you keep them on the payroll? If they give you, sometimes the information is good, sometimes hit or miss with T4. Advised that Ida Mae Cress, again, that is Dr. Welsing's mother, black school teacher in Chicago, acted as treasurer at a party held on November 18, 1944, at 4810 Langley Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, by the 4 West and Oakland Kenwood Clubs, Communist Political Association. The informant stated the money collected was to be turned over to Lavert Jackson, then finance director, 4 West Club. The CPA has been designated by the Attorney General of the United States pursuant to Executive Order 10450. Information was received in March 1945 from the confidential informant T4 that Ida Mae Cress, a former school teacher, during a conference held on February 27, 1945 in Chicago, planned and carried out by leading Negro and white men and women interested in continuation of Negro History Week, was elected vice chairman of a permanent building committee which was to raise and handle funds for a museum to be built in this regard at 48th and Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Now, They didn't say she was a commie. They didn't say she was a Marxist-Leninist. They didn't say she was plotting to overthrow the government. Negro History Week, which is Carter G. Woodson became Black History Month, but Negro History Week. Got to get a file on you. Get some info. Like what? What? Negro History Week is a threat to national security? And that's why I said, if you got to snoop on a black school teacher in Chicago for trying to get, oh, I'm with Carter G. Woodson, let's do Negro History Week, and black people done some cool things, right on. If you got to go, that's a threat, we got to go and snoop. This system should have been replaced a long time ago. Would have been if we were on our assignment. Clearly, we have not been. Let's see. So, and just again, the volume of detail that they can acquire. Look at this here. Information was received on March 6, 1953, from confidential informant T8. T8. See how many? I told you it just goes on and on and on. How many informants do you have just dedicated to the Cress household in Ohio? Because some of these informants are in Illinois, some of them in Ohio. How many informants do you have just dedicated to the Cress lineage? Come on, man. Again, all of this, it would radically shift how I think about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Like, wow, this is someone who, like the federal government, had a state, the Department of the Army and Secret Service, J. Edgar Hoover, are coordinating to neutralize her activities starting from 19 at least. And she soldiered through all of that, including, according to her own testimony, hordes of black people, victims of rape. You don't know what you talking about, Doctor. I knew you was crazy. They probably got that in the FBI files too. We've been super effective because lots of black people, they know she is crazy as a dingbat. Let's see. And again, same thing. They keep saying, what are the parents reading? What magazine are parents subscribed to? What newspaper do our parents get? What they've been reading lately? Another page full of info. They got so many. T1 and T2 and T3 and T4 and T6. It just goes on and on and on. Some of these informants, 1944, 1955, 1946. How many informants, how many years, decades of informants do you have on the Cress family, on Dr. Welsing even specifically? Matter of fact, let me give you one that even stood out. Let me give you one. I just told you Ida Mae Cress, Dr. Welsing's mother, black school teacher. She's not an astrophysicist. She didn't have 15 PhDs. Black school teacher. I'm not degrading that. I'm just saying we're not talking about someone who, oh my goodness, she's traveled to, 10, 20, 50 different countries and, all of her extensive learning and expertise. Like, oh my goodness, Ida Mae Cress, she'll just devastate all of us with her brilliance and knowledge. She's a black school teacher in Chicago. Ida Mae Cress, they got an informant, T6, 1946. Dr. Welsing in March 1946, so Dr. Welsing hadn't had her so-called birthday yet this year, so Dr. Welsing at this point is 10 years old. They have informant T6 is listed as having reported on Ida Mae Cress, and this is listed in an FBI file, apparently in coordination with Chicago Police Department, but it is listed on page 229. Did you hear what I just said? Dr. Welsing's mother, black school teacher, didn't work for NASA, Pentagon, none of that. Black school teacher. An informant snitched on her to the FBI, 1946. Dr. Welsing is 10, Frances Cress is 10 years old. This is on page 229 of an FBI file. Page 229 of an FBI file. Beyond, wait a minute, you have a file with at least 230 pages where Dr. Welsing's mother is mentioned. More than once. More than once. I paused. Is this massive 230-page file, is this all about the Cress family? Is this about different Negras in Chicago where the Cress family pops up repeatedly? One more time, don't tell me nothing about white people are ignorant about the Negras. What? You have whole teams of white people. That's their job. We spy on Negras. Spy on whole families of Negras. Accumulate hundreds of pages on one Negra. And then sit back and we just ignorant about it. We don't know nothing. You come on. Come on. 230 pages. That's for the mother. I'm not now. I have to get that file to see now how many of those pages are about the Cress family and how many are about other people. But I know, according to this document, Dr. Welsing's mother is in there repeatedly. Kept rolling through the pages, got another one. I said, whoa, I'm just looking at the page count. There it is. Got another one. Dr. Welsing's father, who was also a doctor, third-generation physician. He's a second-generation physician, Dr. Henry Noah Cress, and he's a World War II veteran, Dr. Welsing's father. He's not thought of as a national hero. He's subversive Negro, too. Got a file on him, too. Now, 1949, informant T9 is snitching on what Dr. Welsing's black dad is reading. 1949. What stood out additionally about that, Dr. Welsing at this point would have been 14 years old. But what stood out about that was, dang, this is listed on page 52 of an FBI file. I said, wow, that is amazing. You got at least 53 pages of an FBI file where Dr. Welsing's father is mentioned, and mentioned repeatedly. Same thing I said for her mom. Is this file all about her dad? Is this file all about the Cress lineage? Again, how many informants do you have on one household? I'm going to say it again. You can't, I could be wrong. I don't think it's possible to do this with everybody. I don't think you can go and get T1, T2, 3T, T12, T59. I don't think you can go and do that for all of us on our assignment. Maybe all of us can't be Dr. Welsing, and we don't need that. But if all of us were focused, working, we're going to replace white supremacy with justice. Maybe I'm working economics. Maybe I'm working labor. Maybe I'm working politics, whatever. But we're all working to replace white supremacy with justice. There is no way. White people being a tiny minority of the global population, they're going to have all this data on. That's not even possible. They would have been out of business. We haven't been on our assignment. Not even close. So they got hundreds of pages. Dr. Welsing's, man, that's why I said they probably got thousands, 10,000 pages on Dr. Welsing. Like, easy. Easy. And then they got all this snooping. Like I said, they went on for years. I even neglected one. I had to look at the stamps close. Geez, they got stamps from the Secret Service. I had mentioned them before, where you see the macro level of white people working together, some of the most powerful organizations in the world, working together to network and share information on 19-year-old Frances Cress. There's a stamp on one of these documents going to the Secret Service. 1963, be specific, October 25, 1963. I said, whoa. And I was so glad. I shot that to the bot. I didn't say anything. I was just looking at the page to see what information the bot would pick up from the codes and all that. And the bot said, whoa, brother Gus, did you see that stamp October 25, 1963? I said, oh, okay. He said the same thing I did. That is less than 30 days before the assassination of suspected racist John Fox Kennedy. The Secret Service, Abraham Bolden, we did read, remember? The Secret Service, y'all are supposed to be preparing for Dallas, making sure Lee Harvey Oswald is not up in the book depository, ready to blow the Fox's brains all over the pavement. Y'all not prepping for Dallas. Y'all are talking about at 63, so she'd have been 28, I think. If my math is right, I think she'd have been 28 years old at this point. Y'all are up here spreading rumors and innuendo about 28-year-old Dr. Francis Cress at this point, not trying to get ready for Dallas. I said, come on. The national threat is not the race soldiers preparing to kill the president in Dallas. The national threat, Fran. Was Fran in Dallas when Kennedy got shot? I swear. We talked to Dr. Welsing about the assassination. I remember she said, I was at the hospital in D.C. They announced that a black person had killed Kennedy. Maybe that Fran. They're going to put that on Fran. They're going to put that on Fran. But I passed out when I saw that, man. Secret Service stamp, not just, random whatever. Secret Service stamp, October 25, 1963. Come on, man. Put that on Abraham Bolden where he told they weren't taking it serious. They were being racist. Talking about Dr. Welsing. They weren't trying to protect the president. Racist. Fox. Let's see. There we go. So again, there are lots of these memos that are dated to the director, from the director again in 1956. The director of the FBI would be J. Edgar Hoover. He is getting copies of these pictures, copies of all the reports. Where is she working at? Where does she live? What is she reading? What sort of subversive activity is she talking about? She doesn't want members of the YPA identified and all that. J. Edgar Hoover is getting all of this information tracked directly to him, as I told you, as are Cincinnati field offices, New York field offices, Chicago field offices, Springfield field offices, Department of the Army. Like, it is, I was going to say crazy, but I mean, system of white supremacy. And again, that stamp, Subversive Control, and they got it in all capital letters, SUBV Control. And they have bunches of these, like I said, it goes through, that are supposed to be going to the director. They have so many codes and things written off to the side. That's why I say it takes a lot of time to even read these so that you can get all of the documents, because sometimes if you read these close enough, you'll pick up codes, and there are other files that you can get access to that have even more information, even tracking who got these documents, what these codes mean, intelligence division, and all the rest of it. It is just staggering, as I said, radically shift my understanding of Dr. Welsing, her legacy, and what she had to battle against to do all of this. Again, she had a file in New York as well, because of her time working there. Let me see. I want to make sure I include the New York component as well. Them swapping photographs to make sure they can easily identify. They keep coming back to that. Okay, here we go. Got the one I was looking for specifically. So this is dated July 23rd, 1956, to Frederick H. Schmidt, SCHMIDT. Director of Security, Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, HEW, in Washington, D.C., from J. Edgar Hoover, director. That's why I said when we had that, it wasn't an argument per se, but when Dr. O'Reilly was on the program, he was saying, and I guess correctly, that just because a memo is routed to the director of the FBI doesn't necessarily mean that J. Edgar Hoover or whoever the director is saw it. True. And he said you would have to look for some sort of notification or marking, an H or an initialing that, oh, okay, J. Edgar Hoover read this, or the director, what have you. That, for me, is scratched because this memo is from J. Edgar Hoover. I think all of that is buried. If a letter is from the person, the assumption is that they saw it, they dictated, they're aware of it. Scratch all of that. J. Edgar Hoover specifically is talking directly, explicitly about Francis Cress, and this is 1956, so he is talking about a 21-year-old Francis Cress. Francis Luella Cress, give the middle name, as a security matter. It reads, Miss Margaret Neubart, Neubart, Secretary to the Director, Psychiatric Institute, 722 West 168th Street, New York City, recently advised from records in her possession that the captioned individual is presently, and talking about Fran, is presently employed as a technician in the biochemistry laboratory of the Psychiatric Institute. Miss Neubart further advised that the subject is assisting Dr. Warren M. Sperry on a project sponsored by the United States Public Health Service and National Institute of Mental Health, Bethesda, Maryland. This project, according to Ms. Neubart, comes under United States Public Health Service Grant B344. Ms. Neubart stated that the project was initiated in September 1950, and since that time, the Psychiatric Institute has received an annual financial grants from the United States Public Health Service. According to Ms. Neubart, the subject, Fran, is not actually paid out of federal funds, but is a paid employee of the Institute itself, and the Institute maintains full responsibility for her employment. For your additional information, there is enclosed one copy each of the following reports concerning the subject. Report of Special Agent George J. McQuaid, dated February 29, 1956 at Cincinnati. Report of Special Agent Henry F. Tompkins, dated June 29, 1954 at Cincinnati. Letter to Frederick M. Schmidt, Director of Security, Department of Health and Education and Welfare. And I mean, this document right here, I saw this document later. I was staggered for many reasons. One, this is written directly from J. Edgar Hoover, and they're writing concerning Dr. Welsing's employment on this grant, working in New York, working as a technician, the Biochemistry Laboratory of Psychiatric Institute. Like, there were people who said the FBI, Secret Service, these folks, white people, they will just watch. They don't do anything, they just watch. I said respectfully, humbly, we don't know enough to make a statement of that nature. A document like this, to me, does not suggest white people just spectate. The director of the FBI is writing people who are connected to your job about what you do. Are you don't even have to get into J. Edgar Hoover is writing to your employers directly about you. How many people think, hey, I'm going to get that raise now? J. Edgar got my back. I'm going to get that promotion now, buddy. How many of you all think that for a black man? For Fran. Come on, and particularly, did you get that last part? He said, J. Edgar said, and again, that's why I said, oh, that's done. I appreciate that from Dr. O'Reilly. I did learn a lot, but all that's done. J. Edgar is talking directly about Fran. J. Edgar is sending documents. Report of Special Agent George J. McQuaid. Even process that for a minute. You got a job. I'm trying to advance my career. I'm 21. The director of the FBI is sending FBI field reports that have been made where they got me under surveillance since I was 19 years old, sending that to my employer, my white employer, at the very beginning of my career. Come on. And then now keep that in mind. This is, I just told you the date for this report is 1956. Dr. Welsing was fired from Howard 20 years later, 1975 to be specific. You don't think this could have happened? And hey, they were sending this report off to New York, right? They just said the Biochemistry Laboratory of Psychiatric Institute up in New York. Yes? Okay. The Howard University is in Washington, D.C. If I'm the FBI and we want to go, hey, you got this radical Negro employed over here at the HBCU, we don't want a whole generation, a whole cohort of young Negroes, rowdy and radical, talking about Cress theory and what they learned from old Dr. Welsing and ran, replace white. Oh, we not interested in all that. You got to get her out of there. Y'all don't think they could have done the same thing? And hey, we ain't even got to spend all that money on postage for this one. We can just walk across the street. The FBI is super close. I said that to Dr. Kenneth O'Reilly. Howard, that's right there. That's right down the street. D.C. is small anyway. We don't even need an Uber for that. We could walk. If they were already snooping, and to me, all of this sounds like neutralization to me. This sounds like what I just said. What's stamped on her file? Subversive control. This Negro, we've been watching her parents for years, and her parents been acting wild and talking about Negro History Month in Chicago and doing all the rest of it. We can get her up out of there. And I said, this report, they're writing the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. That's why I said you do all of this macro coordination with very powerful government organizations. I told you from the very first report that they sent me those, I think it was 17 documents or so, and they said that they had other files that were shared with other government agencies. And when I did that report, I said, other government agencies like who? CIA? Secret Service? Now we can fill that in. Department of the Army, Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, Secret Service, police departments across the country. And CIA would probably be included there as well. But I mean, that would be, like, dang. That, again, don't say nothing about what white people did or didn't do. Anybody out there, I wouldn't care what career you want. Attorney, doctor, fast food, caterer, you pick. Dentist, you pick. You want all those different government entities keeping a file on you for the duration of your career. Anytime you get uppity, mouthy, take a political stance we don't like, Leroy, then he tuning up a little bit. Okay. Well, let's email forward a few. We'll fax this one over to his job, see what they think about that. Put a few pictures in there we want to. Like, what? Dr. Welsing said she lost 2 jobs. Not just how she said she lost 2 jobs as a result of the Cress theory of color confrontation. You don't think a memo like this could have been connected with that happening once, twice, 3 times? We have not been on our assignment. White people have been on their assignment. They did get a reply letter to that report from J. Edgar Hoover. That was July 1956. They did get a reply letter. Let me see. July 1956 for the reply letter. Let's see. I'll give this one in too because it's from the same year. Francis Llewellyn Cress. from Cincinnati, dated April 13, 1956. On July 6, 1956, Robert Ruiz, Superintendent, 910 Riverside Drive, New York City, identified a photograph. I'll start over. Robert Ruiz, R-U-I-S, Superintendent, 910 Riverside Drive, New York City, identified a photograph of the subject as that of an individual presently residing at apartment 5E at this address. On July 6, 1956, Miss Margaret Newbart, Secretary of the Director, Psychiatric Institute, 722 West 168th Street, New York City, advised from records in her possession that the subject, Fran, is presently employed as a technician in the biochemistry laboratory of the Institute. Ms. Newbart further advised that the subject is assisting Dr. Warren M. Sperry on a project sponsored by the U.S. Public Health Service and the National Institute of Mental Health, Bethesda, Maryland. This project comes under U.S. Public Health Service Grant B344. Ms. Newbart stated the project was initiated in September 1950, and since that time the Psychiatric Institute has received annual financial grants from the U.S. Public Health Service. According to Ms. Newbart, the subject is not actually paid out of federal funds, but is a paid employee of the Institute itself, and the Institute maintains full responsibility for her employment. No information has come to the attention of the NYC concerning any subversive activities on the subject's part since she took up residence in this area. In this connection, the following New York informants, plural, were contacted in late June and early July with negative results, like they were upset about this, and then it's got blacked out the names of the informants. A review of the subject's file indicates that there is insufficient evidence at this time to warrant her inclusion on the security index of the New York field office. And again, they're going on to talk about her employee, and again, stamped in big, all capital letters, Subversive Control. And they go back talking forth, and apparently there's lots of back and forth between J. Edgar Hoover and the white director, Frederick H. Schmidt, at the House of Education and Welfare. And I suspect a file like that, House Education and Welfare, that would track when you go to Howard University. I suspect that would just follow, so that they're just, oh, now she's working at an HBCU. She's got this long history of radicalism. Okay, like, I totally could see how that's how it would operate. Anyway, I'll give in one more report from this. Again, this was a much chunkier file than what I got before. This is an actual Dr. Welsing file, as opposed to just her popping up in somebody else's record. So just so much data. There's so much more here. I mean, you could just spend hours just going through and picking out all the different codes and what does that mean? Who is this going to? And how much detail they got into her parents and all of that. It is staggering. Just white people are not ignorant about Frances Cress Welsing. In my view, this greatly substantiates, validates all of her scholarship throughout her life. If she was talking pseudo-scientific BS, why are you all snooping on her from 19? Why are you storing up all this information and trying to mess up her employment repeatedly if she is just talking nonsense? It'll take care of itself if it's talking nonsense, right? Give you one more. This is reporting offices, New York. So that's why I said it's the entire country. Chicago, Ohio, Washington, New York, whole country. This is dated March 27, 1958. So at this point, Dr. Welsing would have just turned 23 at this point. Security matter. And this report also went to the Secret Service, and there we go again. This page is specifically stamped Secret Service, October 25, 1963. It would have been impossible if I'd had these documents before. If we could go back in time, I would love to ask Abraham Bolden, do you remember any of the agents that you worked with them talking about Frances Cress? Does that name sound familiar? Were you all talking about her at all? Did they think Fran was going to try and do something to JFK? Like, come on, man, come on. This report that the Secret Service got, background residents on February 18, 1958, a pretext call was made to the residence of Dr. Henry Cress, subject's father, 6111 South Woodlawn Avenue, who identified herself as the subject's grandmother, advised that the subject currently resided at the above address. Are you serious? They didn't. I suspect Dr. Welsing's grandmother might have a file too. Just would have to go and maybe go and get her mom, Ida Mae Cress's file, or her dad, Dr. Henry Noah Cress. I suspect if you get either of their files, Dr. Welsing's grandmother's name might be there and her file. But I mean, really, I'd heard Dr. Welsing talk and say that, FBI agents had come and talked to her mom, and she was so proud that her mom, told them to get on out of here, blah, 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 and all that. I don't know if they didn't talk to your mom, your grandmother, your neighbors. Like, woo, man, it would boggle the mind. Anyway, this page also stamped Subversive Control. But white people are not ignorant about the enigmas. I cannot say that enough. They are not ignorant about the system of white supremacy racism, and there is no way that they can be and maintain domination over non-white people of this magnitude for all of the years and ways that they have dominated us consistently, thoroughly. Anywho, I would hope people take this information. There's so much more out there, but at least take this bit of information about the snooping and spying of the FBI. Share. Hey, Gus T is making all this up, although I don't know how you would make up all of this, but file your own FOIA requests. Study these documents. FOIA requests for other victims of racism. FOIA requests for race soldiers. But get more information so that we can have a better understanding of white supremacy racism. At least for me, if you say, well, hey, these documents didn't replace white supremacy with justice, true. They didn't even, change our positioning on the plantation at all. True. However, at least in my view, I cannot emphasize enough, if this system is that fragile and lame, the most powerful race soldiers in the world, you got to go and do some peeping on a 19-year-old black girl. That lets me know you all are not all powerful. You don't even think that this system is going to be here forever, because if it was, what in the Christ are we doing snooping? She's saying she's a Marxist-Leninist. She is confused as all get out. What do we need to sit around here? We got to be calling and snooping on her grandmother, checking on her father and mother's credit report, where they live at, what magazine they read, what news. Like, are you serious? If we were that ignorant, if we were the monkeys and chimps that white people say we are, hey, read whatever you're going to read. Go to school for as long as you want to go. Study as much as you want to. Y'all ain't got nothing for Team White. That would be the case. That's not the truth at all. Not even close. What's closer to the truth, we have not been on our assignment at all. We ain't take none of that dedication in spite of all of this. Everything I done read, everything they got in these files, and probably thousands of pages more, but all of this, we did not take that and apply. And hey, I'm going to have that same type of courage, that same Dr. Welsing black self-respect. I'm not going to be no coward. White people are not going to scare me off of my assignment. Replace white supremacy with justice. We don't do that. We're not even close. YouTube and Netflix. Again, that's why I said, man, don't send me no YouTube videos, man. Let's do some serious research, man. File a FOIA request. Local police, FBI, some Department of the Army, something. If anything, it reminded the gulf in terms of information is monumental in terms of the information that white people have and the information that non-white people have. It is monumental. They can pick up the phone and talk to your grandmother in the next 5 minutes and get all kinds of information. Literally, to see that in right. They literally pick up the phone, talk to your grandmother in the next 5 minutes and get all kinds of information. Go snoop and talk to your grandmother's neighbors and get all kinds of, maybe put them on the FBI payroll and get all kinds of information on you, us, anytime they want to. That is what domination looks like. Now, either we can continue to get smacked around by them, and hey, the same thing Dr. Welsing talked about. Hey, we should admit if we're not going to be on our assignment, we're going to abdicate our duty. She wrote that in the ISIS papers, where she had been being snooped on for 40 years before she wrote it. But she said, hey, if we're not going to solve this problem, we should just say that. I'm a coward. I don't want to confront racist man, racist woman. It's too scary. I don't want no beef with the Department of the Army. I'll go get at Julio the Foolio. I don't want no beef with the Secret Service. I don't want the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare writing and snooping and messing up my appointment. I don't want J. Edgar writing about me. Keep my mouth closed. Behave. I don't want no trouble with these white people. She said we should say that and announce it to the world. Be loud about it, as loud as we are in name calling other black people. Be loud. I am cowardly. I'm afraid of white people. I'm not trying to replace white supremacy with justice. Say that. Anywho, Dr. Welsing did not say that, and she she walked it for her entire life better than she talked it, even though I do think it is super important that she did say that, and it is in the ISIS papers in black and white. But she was a brilliant illustration of that, and I have so much more regard for that, seeing these files and knowing what she had to endure and face from 19. You got informants crawling around you from 19, and your parents. Soldier on. Get fired repeatedly from doing this work. Soldier on. People calling you crazy and you don't know what you're talking about. Soldier on. Giving a lecture with 13 people in attendance. And one of them is an informant. At least. Soldiered on her assignment for the duration. One and only Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. So again, I'm trying to solve a problem, and there is a measure of personal safety. I think I said that before. I felt in danger when I first got these files. Like, wow, white people know that they gave them to me. Dr. Welsing was in danger just based on the files and such, being terminated and having the Department of the Army and Secret Service and J. Edgar Hoover kind of dangerous. I said, man, I'm at least going to talk about this publicly and hope that neutralizes the danger a bit. I did feel that again when I got this stack of like 40 so pages or what have you, especially when they said, hey, this is exclusive. You're the first person to look at these, maybe the first person to see these documents outside of the FBI. That was a little scary. And then even the local police aspect, I'd said I've submitted a number of FOIA requests to local police departments. Some of them are in violation of the law around these Dr. Welsing requests specifically. I said in advance, I said, that'll be something to report either way. Either they will give up the files and it'll be, oh my goodness, look what the local police had on Dr. Welsing, not in Illinois. And then, if they break the law and all the rest, it'd be, hey, they violated the law to conceal files on Dr. Welsing. What do they have? How much material do they have? How many local police departments? We did just have Dr. Joshua Clark Davis as a guest on the program, and he talked about COINTELPRO being a coordinated effort, and some of that is in these very files that I talked about, seeing Voltron, but on a macro scale, the Department of the Army and the Secret Service, but that involved local police departments all over the country. That also, like, man, local police everywhere you go got a little file binder on you, maybe bigger, more time you spend there, it just gets bigger. That is kind of frightening too. Dr. Welsing endured all of that and still kept the focus on the problem: people classified as white. I will pause there. I think I'd said 2 weeks of April 19, because it was McVeigh Day. I said, dang, that broadcast is kind of obsolete now, because now I got the files of her at 19. Hopefully, I will get the more files so I can make this obsolete, so we can get more details about the snooping and how it intensified and evolved after she graduated, because I just do not believe that. Like, what sense does that make? You all did all this snooping on her at 19, 20, 21, and then after she graduates and actually becomes a medical doctor, now you're done snooping, which is obviously not true, because I already had the files from where they had informants and such around her in the 70s. So where is the continued file? Hopefully I will be able to continue gathering data so that it can be updated in terms of just the scope of all of this. But like I said, even with what we have right now, the massive levels of coordination and all of this for a medical doctor, she was not out picketing and jumping up and down and protesting and we need to get guns and kill it. She was not saying any of that ever at any point, 19 or closer to the time when she transitioned. Never. Medical doctor. She's working in a lab. Like, why is that subversive activity? She reading books, working at the library. Why is that subversive activity? Already got that. Niggers aren't supposed to be reading. Catherine Massey Book Club on Friday. Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow. She talks all that about colorblind. I don't think none of the people who put this report together are colorblind. I could be in error. But we will resume Chicago Connect there as well for Dr. Wells, and we get the Chicago part of that book, taking it to it. But that's Friday, normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then Thursday, Neutralizing Workplace Racism, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's it. I'll take a quick gander, see if folks have a question. I'm not really interested in random talk and what have you, because folks are off topic frequently. If they had a question about something, I'd maybe take that. But beyond that, much obliged for folks tuning in. Hopefully worthy of your time and energy. Hopefully folks gathered some constructive information from these files and learning about what Dr. Welsing endured to get us the ISIS papers and all the other work, information that she tried to share with victims of white supremacy, being on her assignment to solve the problem. At minimum, hopefully we will have a much greater appreciation for everything that she had to endure for her time on the planet and her commitment to replacing white supremacy with, and really being true to her title, doctor, her commitment to healing black people, and in so many ways, not just with her practice, but her lectures and every time that she came out to speak about racism, white supremacy, in my view, that was to heal black people, knowing that what was harming us in every way, shape, form was the system of white supremacy, racism, and us not understanding that system. Dedicating her time and energy and brilliance to as much as she could, helping us decode and understand that system so we could replace it, get on our assignment. And we have totally abdicated that duty. Totally abdicated that duty. Obvious, because we have not solved the problem. Anywho, we will be here on Thursday. You can check social media. If you did not get to see the picture, and not for shout outs and glam shots and all the rest of it. But if you need to see the image that was included in the FBI file, you can check it out on social media. It was shared widely, so you can see what she looks like. But you can appreciate the clarity and crispness of the image. Biometrics from the 1950s, early 1950s at that. But check social media. We'll have updates for upcoming broadcasts and maybe even updates about the next batch of information we get regarding Dr. Welsing or other important figures related to counter-racism. Same thing I said before. Folks, do some filing, FOIA requests. If you get data, let us solve the problem. Share. We can put these puzzle pieces together. What documents did you get and all the rest of it? Thus far, I didn't get any of that. We haven't been on our assignment. Any hoodles, much obliged, hopefully worthy of your Sunday evening. Sobriety would be best. That is one thing, like, man. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she talked about being sober, encouraged sobriety. That is one. She walked it better than she talked it. Thankfully, as a medical doctor, but I mean, she was about, I'm taking care of my health. Man, even you can think like, what if she had been reckless and I got to get the mad dog and go out and party and do all that old nonsense that is a staple of black culture? If she had not been around into her 80s, we could have lost her early, like happens with so many. D'Angelo, Chadwick Boseman. What kind of national tragedy would that have been if we had lost her early? Even, in my opinion, even when she did transition in 2016, that was early. But man, for our assignment, let us be sober so we can take care of our brain computer. We need to maximize the intelligence that we have following Dr. Welsing's example so that we can solve this problem, our cosmic assignment. Creator, we ask that you remind us, stop saying not all white people are racist. Remind us, stop name-calling people classified as black for Dr. Welsing. Again, she walked it better than she talked it. If anything, we were impacted by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's teachings, writings, her dedication. Hey, her black self-respect that she modeled. For sure, the way we conduct ourselves with people classified as black, it should be on flagrant display there. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed.
I'm a victim, brother.
Problem. You're a victim.
Yeah. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my condition.
Mm-hmm.
Even my conditioning has been conditioned.